What's going on YouTube? Username Kite562 here with a Volume 2 review of Paru Itagaki's short story series, Beast Complex. Now, with Beast Complex Volume 2, there's 6 more tales from the world of Beastars featuring Grey Wolf Legoshi's neighbors from Beast Apartments. Yorkshire pig Eugene meets a peacock police officer with a peculiar death width. Shiba Inu calendar model Mugi grapples with the inevitability of aging out of his cuteness. Steller sea eagle Licia fears losing his sugar mama and having to strike out on his own, plus 2 of our favorite beast Grey Wolf Legoshi and Dwarf Rabbit Haru attend a restorative justice ceremony, and more. And that's the summary of Beast Complex on the back here. Now, Beast Complex is written and illustrated by Paru Itagaki and published by Viz Media. I'm your host, Kite562 of Kite562 Books and Manga Reviews, with finally another review of Beast Complex for the playlist. Now, as I said, I'll leave a link to the description of my Volume 1 review of Beast Complex. So, this one, I'm going to go through all 6 short stories featured, and there will be chapters, so be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content on this channel. So let's get on with the review. Now, for the first story, it's called The Pig and the Peacock. The plot of this story is a pig named Eugene, who's a taxidermist, crosses paths with a peacock named Gerbil. So after Gerbil thought that Eugene's business was slightly unethical, since taxidermy is kind of frowned upon in the Beastars universe, because as the story starts, there's a zebra couple where the zebra's wife is the one who passed away, and Eugene's getting ready to preserve her beauty through taxidermy, because, like even Eugene said within this story, that even the most ugliest of creatures have some sort of beauty within them, deep within. And I just thought that was a really interesting part of this story as a whole. So, for the first side note though, I really do love the friendly chemistry between Gerbil and Eugene. And I always enjoyed that this story tries to show that beauty can be found in anyone, inside or out, like I said with Eugene's paraphrased quote within this story. So, I have to say, my final thoughts on this story, I really do love these short stories of the Beastars universe, and I do love the fact that Paru expands upon other parts of the universe as well. And with the artwork featured in Volume 2, she's really upped her game slightly. I mean, all the backgrounds are really well detailed and gorgeous, and it's just a really enjoyable experience. So, let's get on with story number 2. Okay, so for the second story, it's titled The Shiba Inu and the Shiba Inu. And the plot is, Mugi is a 40-year-old male Shiba Inu, and he feels really tired of people only seeing his female persona as a calendar girl. And so, yeah, he's a guy who dresses up as a maid or a model, and people love him for his female persona on the calendar. And I have to say, my favorite quote from this manga is that it's not easy posing as a cute bitch to fulfill other beast wet dreams. Mugi, Beast Complex, Chapter 2. And Mugi's just a really solid character behind the scenes. And for side note number 1, I feel like Mugi is on the verge of snapping. Even though bears, Pomeranians, and Shiba Inus may look cute on the outside, you may not know what they're dealing with on the inside. An example being Mugi's barber, or like plastic surgeon, I think, wants him to get plastic surgery, but Mugi refuses to do so. It's really interesting seeing all the different social standards that get unnecessarily pressured onto people with famous careers, like models, artists. They're pressured to do something that may not be comfortable to them, and it's just really seeing it portrayed in this light as a whole. So I have to say, for my final thoughts, I loved Mugi as a character. I mean, with that punch scene towards that group of carnivores, it was just really badass to see. And man, just please read Beast Complex. It's a really great series of short stories by Miss Itagaki. So anyway, on to story number 3. Okay, story number 3, The Crow and the Kangaroo. So for the plot of this story, a crow that lives in a place called District 0 is a safe space for all white furred animals. However, when a district meeting occurs, the crow meets a mysterious female kangaroo named Orion, who's famous and presumably rich. And what's interesting about Orion is that she has a little constellation spot on her inner thigh, but Ibisu, EBSU, I think that's how his name's spelled, refuses to see it. So, and I just thought that the chemistry between Ibisu and Orion, which is the pure white kangaroo here, was just a really wholesome experience. And so, for my first side note that caught my eye is that white furred animals are referred to as brights, and pure bright is extremely rare. What is more interesting to know is that this meeting was called in about a murder of a polar bear who was also skinned for visiting District 17. However, could this district be related to the back alley market or the black market? In this case, who knows? Read the story to find out. But for the second side note, during the meeting we find 3 interesting facts about brights: that 1, their meat is delicious, 2, their fur is very valuable, and 3, their bones are crafted into talismans to ward off evil. So it was a really interesting experience with all this information as a whole, but for my final thoughts of this story, it can be kind of creepy that outside districts could have a weird, warped view of the outside world. I mean, this whole district itself, it's more like a gated community in a sense, and it's just really strange. It honestly reminds me of this episode of The Haunting Hour where a Grampire is involved, but I'll just leave it at that. So, but it does have Christopher Lloyd in it, so that's a great thing. I mean, I really enjoyed his performance in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But let's get on with story number 4. Okay, story 4, The Steller Sea Eagle and the Mongolian Gerbil. So for the plot of this story, Fina is a gerbil who's getting married. However, the sea eagle Licia, who's his roommate, depends on Fina since Licia doesn't have a job of his own. This is also happening during an occurrence of thunderstorms, which I really didn't have to say much about this story because I really didn't want to spoil it. So for my final thoughts, the imagery really sold this story with Paru's iconic art style. I mean, with the fear of, like, Licia's eyes, like, during the thunderstorm, it was just really memorable to see, and it almost really reminded me of Kazuo Umez's expressive faces in the Orochi series, which I'll leave a link to the top right of that playlist up here, as always. So, I mean, the fear and the details on Licia, the eagle, are very well made. Plus, this story made me feel very warm and fuzzy inside, which is really great. I mean, there were some really wholesome moments between Fina and Licia as a whole. So, I'll just leave it at that. And again, read Beast Complex Volume 2. And so, let's get on with story number 5. The Chipmonk and the Mountain Hare. So for the plot of this story, a chipmunk named Kim is sent to contact a famous story writer named Ichijiku, who's known for their female-focused herbivore stories. Kim is shocked to see why this author is a pretty private person. Now, behind the scenes of where Kim works is that Ichijiku seems to be a diva, but this is just word spread of word of mouth, and Again, I really don't want to say much other than that, but again, read Beast Complex Volume 2. So for my final thoughts on this is that I feel like the message behind this story is that you shouldn't always rely on rumors to get to know somebody. Instead, try to get to know them directly. I also loved the panel at page 114 at Ichijiku's apartment door, which was really well illustrated, and some of the scenes inside of Ichijiku's apartment were really intriguing to see. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. I mean, it was really hard to tell which page was which. I mean, some pages were numbered and some pages were not. So please leave a comment down below on why manga's made like that. I really would like to know. I'm genuinely curious. So let's get on with the final story. The Wolf and the Rabbit. So for the plot, Haru wants Legoshi to go to her coming-of-age ceremony since Haru is turning 20. Along with the wound purification ceremony since Legoshi scarred Haru's arm from Volume 1 of Beastars. And I have to say, this was a really beautiful story. I mean, both Haru and Legoshi got to go to this beautiful coming-of-age ceremony and this wound purification place, which almost felt like a wedding to me. I was just so happy to see this. So it was just an all-around gorgeous experience. So for my final thoughts, all these stories are insightful and enjoyable, and all are really fascinating. I'd like to see more single, thick volumes of these stories with some of the characters, like Eugene and Gerbera. Definitely one with Mugi, and then, of course, Haru and Legoshi. I mean, I really would like to see a wedding story focused on those two. Just when, Paru? I mean, it's your choice. So, but, as I said, all of the stories are insightful and enjoyable, and all around really fascinating. I'd like to see more single, thick volumes expanded upon these Beast Complex characters. An example would be having an all-one story on Mugi and his life before his Beast Complex story, or have an all-in-one manga story about Gerbera the Peacock before his Beast Complex story. You get the gist here? All in all, I give Volume 2 of Beast Complex a solid 9 out of 10. So, yeah. It's just a really enjoyable experience as a whole. So, anyway, that's been my short, to-the-point review of Beast Complex by Paru Itagaki. I'm probably going to have this video up on a Wednesday, so again, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content on this channel. I'm your host, Kite562, signing out, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. Later.